Complete History of X-Men, Earth 616, Part 5. When the young Avengers found the Scarlet Witch and restored her memories, they convinced her to start repowering former mutants. After she successfully restored the powers of Julio Richter, the X-Men arrived at the Avengers mansion to take her into custody. The Scarlet Witch decided to give the X-Men what they want: more mutants. A confrontation arose between the X-Men, Avengers, and X-Factor. The fight was cut short when Wanda proceeds to put them all to sleep. The X-Men eventually agreed to leave Wanda alone, but they stated that Wanda would never be forgiven for what she did to the mutant people. After Kid Omega's attack on the United Nations, anti-mutant sentiment began to rise and world leaders began reactivating Sentinels. Meanwhile, in San Francisco, Mayor Sinclair expedited the grand opening of the Mutant History Museum. Unfortunately, Cade Kilgore and his Hellfire Club used this opportunity to attack the X-Men. Despite Wolverine's objections, Cyclops ordered Eddie to stop the Hellfire Club by killing them. These events lead to a giant Super Sentinel nearly destroying Utopia, and Cyclops and Wolverine parting ways because of philosophical differences. The difference ended up being more than could be reconciled. The one thing Cyclops and Wolverine could agree on was Eddie would be better off away from Utopia, so despite Hope's objections, Eddie left with Wolverine and others to resettle Westchester. Because of the split, each X-Man was forced to choose to remain on Utopia with Cyclops or reopen the mutant school in Westchester with Wolverine. Wolverine founded the Jean Grey School for Higher Learning. On their school's first day, the school was attacked by the same Hellfire Club that orchestrated the X-Men's schism. They attacked using a variety of methods: an army of Frankenstein monsters, a Krakow, which the school had been built upon, and the state inspectors, who were transformed into a Sauron and a Wendigo. They were saved by none other than Kid Omega, who telepathically accessed the Krakow's mind. He discovered that it was not the original Krakow but a grandchild of it. Furthermore, it was a mutant. Having been tortured his whole life, Quire's telepathic contact represented its first friendly interaction. Krakow then opened its thoughts to Rachel Grey, apologizing and hoping to become an X-Man. With their plans ruined, the Hellfire Club fled. Cade Kilgore was later served papers by Matt Murdock, having been sued by Wolverine. Not content, the Hellfire Club contracted Sabretooth to torment the school. When Nova crashed in New York, he gave the Avengers a cryptic warning: "It's coming." Thanks to this, the Avengers discovered that the Phoenix Force was burning a path through the universe on its way to Earth. Meanwhile, Cyclops sparred with Hope repeatedly, training her harshly. When she asked why, he refused to give a straight answer, and Hope flared up with the power of the Phoenix, which the Avengers detected. Captain America consulted Wolverine, who told him of Hope Summers. Cyclops became convinced that the coming of the Phoenix Force would herald the rebirth of mutant kind as a species. Captain America saw it as the herald of Earth's destruction, and so arrived on Utopia with the intent of taking Hope into protective custody. After arguing, Cyclops refused Captain America, blasting him into the ocean. In response, a SHIELD helicarrier uncloaked itself and the Avengers began an invasion of Utopia. Cyclops feigned a surrender to the Avengers and teleported out of Utopia together with several powerful X-Men, thus gaining a head start in the search for Hope. He contacted his daughter Rachel Summers and convinced her to feed the Avengers false information in order to throw them off of Hope's trail. Since Hope had scattered her signal, thus appearing to be in several places at once, various teams of X-Men traveled around the world to find her, facing Avengers on the spots. Cyclops later traveled to the Jean Grey Institute in order to recruit more people for the war against the Avengers, managing to Rachel Summers, Angel, and Iceman among various others. After finding out that Hope was on the blue area of the moon, the X-Men pursued her and encountered the Avengers there. Before a fight broke out between the two groups, and a badly injured Thor crashed onto the moon, followed by the Phoenix Force. The Avengers and X-Men descended into a brawl. The power of the Phoenix increased within Hope and she found herself unable to control it. Desperate, she asked Wolverine to kill her. However, Cyclops prevented him from doing so. As the Phoenix descended on the moon, Iron Man used a special suit to try to destroy the Phoenix. He only managed to splinter it, and it took the 5 other X-Men present as hosts, Namor, Cyclops, Emma Frost, Magik, and Colossus. The schism between the X-Men was ended and the 5 hosts and the rest of the X-Men went about making the world a better place by stopping wars, destroying weapons, and providing free food, water and energy for the entire world. The Avengers continued to oppose them however by staging guerrilla attacks against X-Men and the Phoenixes. After kidnapping Transonic and convincing Hope to join them, Namor lost his patience and attacked the Avengers in their home base, Wakanda. The Avengers narrowly managed to defeat him at the cost of great damage to themselves and Wakanda. After being defeated, Namor's portion of the Phoenix Force left him for the other 4 hosts. Now having even more power to control, some of the Phoenixes began acting erratically and showed signs of losing control. After the Avengers staged a prison breakout for their fellows, Colossus and Magik lost their portions after knocking each other out over an argument regarding the control of their powers. This left Emma and Cyclops the sole hosts. Emma began to rapidly lose control and started to kill people who were guilty of committing heinous crimes against mutants. She also ruled the Utopian X-Men with an iron fist, threatening those whose thoughts displeased her, which prompted many of them to seek sanctuary in the Jean Grey School. The Avengers were attacked by Cyclops, who now possessed half of the Phoenix. He made quick work of anyone that opposed him but was defeated by Hope, who in an act of desperation combined the powers of the Iron Fist, Scarlet Witch's chaos magic and Xiao Lao's flames to teleport Cyclops to the moon. Several X-Men then teamed up with the Avengers after realizing that Cyclops and Emma had completely lost control. Together they attacked Cyclops and Emma and gained the upper hand until Cyclops was forced to take the final piece of the Phoenix from Emma, making him the sole host. The complete Phoenix proved too much and finally turned him into Dark Phoenix, upon which he killed Professor X after Xavier attempted to stop him. The X-Men fought Cyclops around the world with the help of the Avengers and Nova, while trying to contain the chaos the Phoenix Force produced around Earth. After regaining his composure for a moment, Cyclops begged the Scarlet Witch and Hope to kill him, but together, all 3 of them managed to rid Cyclops of the Phoenix, which possessed Hope instead. Hope wanted to use the power to do what the Phoenix 5 could not, and create a real utopia on Earth, but the Scarlet Witch reminded her why the Phoenix chose her in the first place. Together they dissipated the Phoenix and used it to create new mutants. Cyclops is brought into custody and Captain America visits him in his cell. Cyclops accepts full responsibility for everything that happened and asks Rogers not to hunt the X-Men that went missing after their conflict. After Cyclops learns that mutant kind has been reborn, he states that while he regrets the destruction he caused and the death of Professor Xavier, he would do it all again to save mutant kind. Captain America accepted that the Avengers should have done more to help mutants instead of standing by while the world hated them, and promised Cyclops he'd change that. While Cyclops was initially content to stay in prison in order to protect his Extinction Team teammates, as well as fulfill his intent to become either a martyr or political prisoner, his opinions soon changed after his fellow mutant inmate and friend Jake was murdered in jail and after receiving a visit from Mr. Sinister, who goaded Cyclops by telling him that he was free to do whatever he wanted now and only he, Cyclops, could stop him. Cyclops sent a message to Magneto, who staged a prison breakout for him. Now leading Magneto and Magic, Cyclops vowed to continue fighting to protect mutant kind. He began staging various operations to rescue new mutants in trouble with the authorities and offered to train them in the use of their powers and gave them a place in his rebellion. While rescuing Emma Frost, Cyclops and Magneto both ran into problems with their powers. Emma revealed she was going through something similar and told them it was because of the Phoenix which had broken their powers. Meanwhile, Beast began suffering from another mutation which was threatening to kill him. Distressed by Cyclops' more extreme stance against anti-mutantism, which Beast believed would antagonize humanity and threaten the future of mutant kind, Beast resolved to attempt to set things right. Using a time machine he had constructed based on the designs of Reed Richards and Doctor Doom, Beast traveled back to the time of the original X-Men and brought the young versions of Cyclops, Jean Grey, Angel, Iceman, and himself to the present. The original X-Men were detained by the present X-Men at the school, but escaped to go and find the present Cyclops, whom Beast had told them had killed Professor Xavier. Finding him in the middle of a mission, Jean Grey's telepathy manifested early and she lost control of her powers, flinging Cyclops away and causing him to lose his visor. Coupled with his loss of control over his powers, this led Cyclops to inadvertently begin firing optic blasts wildly, which the original X-Men mistook as him trying to attack them. They fought back, but were dispatched by Magneto, who rescued Cyclops and had Magic extract them. While many present X-Men, chiefly Wolverine, wanted to send the original X-Men back to their own time, but after young Beast saved the present version, the original X-Men voted on whether to remain or not, with only Angel voting against it, and were granted stay in the present under the watchful eye of Kitty Pryde. After Beast brought back the past X-Men, they have attracted the attention of some not-so-welcome visitors, the Brotherhood. Posing as the future X-Men, they convince most of the X-Men that something terrible happens in the future and it is all because they brought back the past X-Men. Past Jean, frightened by the mysterious team's blocking of her telepathic powers, convinced past Cyclops to run away with her and not be sent home. After a huge fight between the mutants, Magic is still in disbelief and goes off with past Beast and Iceman for answers. Their answers are met when the real future X-Men appear and explain to them what happened. Reluctantly, the future X-Men go to the present, trying to stop their time's Brotherhood without causing any more fractures in the space-time continuum. Once the Brotherhood realize they cannot send the past X-Men back for some unknown reason, they decide to try and rewrite history by cornering all X-Men and having SHIELD fire all their weapons at them. After a huge battle between mutants, Korn lost control of her mutant power and exploded, giving both teams a chance to evacuate. As the future X-Men left by saying goodbye to their past friends, Chimera, Storm's daughter, decided to stay and keep a lookout for the Brotherhood in this timeline. Kitty Pryde along with all of the past X-Men were disappointed in how the X-Men reacted to this crisis and liked how Cyclops X-Men handled the situation much better. With that they left to join their team of X-Men. After a time, Wolverine died, making Storm the sole headmistress of the Jean Grey School and leader of the X-Men. After briefly teaming up with the Avengers in Genosha to take down the Red Skull, who was empowered by the brain of Charles Xavier, the Jean Grey School's X-Men and Cyclops X-Men became one once more. But due to the inversion spell used to defeat the Skull, the moral axis of the X-Men present in the island was inverted, and the now evil leaders of the X-Men waged a war against humanity, and the Avengers. The inverted X-Men planned on using a gene bomb to kill everyone on the Earth who wasn't a mutant. The astonishing Avengers tried to stop them, and even though they were defeated in combat managed to prevent the bomb from fulfilling its purpose. The Axis, the group of inverted Avengers, arrived to New York to kill the inverted X-Men. During the fight, a rainversion spell was cast by Doctor Doom and the Scarlet Witch, with the help of the inverted Red Skull, turning almost everybody back to normal. After the event, Cyclops X-Men returned to Alberta, Canada. The entirety of mutant kind found itself at a crossroads once more when it was discovered that the clouds made of Turigen mists that roamed the atmosphere after being released months earlier by Inhuman King Black Bolt were hazardous to mutants, afflicting any mutant that entered in contact with them with an illness known as Mpox. The first people to discover the toxicity of the Turigen cloud were Cyclops X-Men when they heeded a call for help from Muir Island, which had been swept by the mists. As soon as he entered in contact with the residual mists, Cyclops fell ill and died almost instantly of Mpox. Fueled by rage and unwilling to let Scott's legacy end there, Emma Frost revealed to the world the hazard of the Turigen clouds and destroyed one of them with the help of alchemy. She also confronted the Inhumans, all while projecting a mental image of Cyclops to keep his death a secret. Black Bolt killed Cyclops, fulfilling Emma's wish to see him die for his cause and transcend his mortality to become an idea. Frost's actions in the name of Cyclops were not well received by the world, leading mutants to become prosecuted and hated once again, and prompting the X-Men to disband. Emma's manipulations also raised tensions between Inhumans and mutants. With her people in constant danger, Storm started working on a sanctuary called X-Haven 185, which consisted of the entirety of the Jean Grey School being moved to the realm of Limbo with the help of Doctor Strange and other magic users. 186. However, she realized that mutants couldn't simply hide, so in order to show that mutants had a place in the world, she rebuilt the X-Men. When Beast, who had been working with the Inhumans to find a cure to Mpox, discovered that the remaining cloud was weeks from reaching a saturation point, which would have caused it to become fully assimilated into the atmosphere, rendering the Earth completely uninhabitable for mutants, he shared this information first with the X-Men. Believing that the Inhumans would refuse to destroy the cloud even at this moment, the different factions of the X-Men united to launch a coordinated attack on Inhuman key players in order to neutralize them long enough, trapping most of them in limbo, to use a machine created by Forge to absorb and destroy the Turigen. Two of the newest Inhumans, ISO and Inferno, managed to escape the assault on New Adelan and destroy Forge's machine, taking him hostage. The two young Inhumans then called reinforcements in the form of other new humans, including Mosaic, who used his powers to infiltrate Muir Island and learn the X-Men's reason behind their attack, later reporting that to his peers, which prompted the New Humans to join forces with Forge to come up with a new solution. The New Humans then traveled to Iceland, the latest location of the Turigen cloud, but were soon confronted by the X-Men, who had no idea of their plans. The Royal Inhumans joined the brawl, having escaped from Limbo and regrouped. The battle was interrupted when Anilix arrived, having provided Forge and Moon Girl with the resources to build the machine necessary to eliminate the Turigen cloud. Medusa was notified of what was at stake and given the trigger to activate the device. In spite of what the destruction of the Turigen cloud meant for Inhumans, Medusa activated the machine, destroying the cloud and ending the threat of the Mpox. Cyclops' time-displaced younger self exposed Emma's lies regarding the events surrounding his older self's death, having learned of this as a consequence of being possessed by Mosaic back in Muir Island, and gaining access to residual memories the body usurper Inhuman had of his previous victim, Magneto, with whom Emma had shared the truth. Having being driven mad by Cyclops' death at the hands of the Mists, Emma still insisted on fighting the Inhumans, even using reprogrammed Sentinels to massacre the Anilix and attack the rest. The Inhumans and the X-Men joined forces and eventually managed to take Frost and her Sentinels down, but she managed to escape. In the wake of the war, Storm chose to pass the reins of leadership to Kitty Pryde, who had recently returned to Earth after working with the Guardians of the Galaxy. Kitty decided to take advantage of the doors to the future opened for mutant kind to build on Xavier's dream once again and build a legacy of heroes and protectors of the world. As part of this plan, Kitty had the mansion moved from Limbo to the middle of Central Park to help the exposure of the X-Men.